The stars looked different from the bridge of the UES Liberty. Captain Jake Morrison stood quietly, watching the bright dots of light through the large windows. After 300 years of looking up at the night sky from Earth, humans were finally traveling between those distant suns. The Liberty was humanity's first ship that could move faster than light. It carried 200 of Earth's best people into the unknown parts of space. Dr. Lisa Park walked up to stand beside the captain. She was the ship's chief science officer and had spent most of her life studying space and alien life. Her dark hair was pulled back neatly, and her brown eyes showed excitement as she looked at the star charts on her tablet. "The next system looks promising, Captain," she said in her calm voice. "Our sensors show at least 3 planets that might support life. We could be looking at our first contact with alien beings." Jake nodded slowly. The weight of this moment was not lost on him. Humanity had dreamed of meeting other intelligent life for centuries. Now that dream might become real within the next few hours. Behind them on the bridge, the crew worked at their stations. Each person knew they were part of something that would change human history forever. Colonel Ben Hayes, the ship's military advisor, approached them with his usual serious expression. He was a tall man with gray hair and sharp blue eyes that missed nothing. While the scientists on board were excited about meeting aliens, Ben's job was to keep everyone safe. "Captain, I recommend we approach with caution," Ben said quietly. "We have no idea what we might find out there. These aliens could be friendly, but they could also see us as a threat." Lisa smiled at the colonel's worry. "Ben, think about this moment. We're about to prove that Earth is not alone in the universe. This could be the most important day in human history. We have to be hopeful." The ship's communication officer, Lieutenant Amy Stone, called out from her station. "Captain, I'm getting strange readings from the 3rd planet. There are definitely artificial structures down there. Big ones." Jake felt his heart beat faster. After months of traveling through empty space, they had finally found signs of intelligent life. He walked over to Amy's station and looked at her screen. The readings showed massive cities and what looked like spaceports on the planet's surface. "Take us into orbit around the planet," Jake ordered. "But keep our distance. We don't want to seem aggressive." As the Liberty moved closer to the alien world, the crew could see it was beautiful. The planet had blue oceans and green land masses, much like Earth. But the cities were unlike anything humans had ever built. Tall spires reached into the sky, and strange geometric shapes covered the landscape. Dr. Park was recording everything she could see. "Captain, this is incredible. The level of technology down there is far beyond what we expected to find. These beings have been spacefaring for a very long time." Suddenly, alarms began to ring throughout the ship. 3 alien ships had appeared on their sensors, moving fast toward the Liberty. These ships were huge, at least twice the size of the human vessel. They looked like they were built for war, with thick armor and visible weapon systems. "Red alert," Jake announced to the crew. "All hands to battle stations." The alien ships surrounded the Liberty but did not fire. Instead, a communications signal came through. Lieutenant Stone worked quickly to translate the alien language using the ship's computer systems. A deep, harsh voice filled the bridge. The translation was rough, but the meaning was clear. "Unknown vessel, you have entered Zephyrian space without permission. Identify yourselves immediately or face destruction." Jake straightened his uniform and nodded to Amy. "Open a channel. Let me speak to them." The main screen flickered, and suddenly the bridge crew was looking at their first alien being. The creature was massive, standing at least 8 feet tall. Its skin looked like natural armor, dark and thick with sharp edges. Its eyes were small and yellow, and its mouth was filled with pointed teeth. This was clearly a warrior race. "I am Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth vessel Liberty," Jake said clearly. "We come in peace from the planet Earth. We wish to establish diplomatic contact with your people." The alien creature, who wore what looked like military decorations, laughed in a way that sounded like metal scraping against stone. "Earth, we have never heard of this world. You are in Zephyrian territory now, little creatures. I am War Commander Thexkar, and you will surrender your ship immediately." Dr. Park stepped forward, even though Jake tried to stop her. "Commander, we mean no harm to your people. We are explorers and scientists. Surely we can find a way to coexist peacefully." Thexkar looked at Lisa with what seemed like amusement. "Coexist? You are small and weak. Your ship is primitive compared to ours. The Zephyrian Empire has ruled this sector for 1,000 years. We do not negotiate with inferior species. The war commander continued speaking, his voice getting louder and more threatening. However, you may be useful as slaves. Your people are small enough to work in our mines. Consider it an honor to serve the mighty Zephyrian Empire. Jake felt anger building inside him, but he kept his voice calm. We will not surrender our ship or our people. We ask only for safe passage through your space. Thexkar's laughter echoed through the bridge. You think you have a choice in this matter? Your single small ship against the might of our fleet? You will come with us to the surface and we will decide your fate there. Colonel Hayes whispered urgently to the captain. Sir, I don't like this. They clearly see us as beneath them. This could go very badly. Before Jake could respond, Thexkar spoke again. As a show of good faith, you will send your leaders to the neutral moon of Zarian 7. We will meet there to discuss terms. But understand this, you will accept our terms, or your ship will be destroyed. Dr. Park looked at Jake with determination in her eyes. Captain, I should go. This is exactly the kind of situation we prepared for. First contact with an alien species. Maybe I can convince them that humans are worth treating as equals. Jake did not want to send Lisa into what was clearly a dangerous situation, but she was right. This was why she was on the mission. If anyone could convince these aliens to treat humans fairly, it would be her. Very well, Jake told Thexkar. We will send a small diplomatic team to your moon. But any harm that comes to our people will have consequences. Thexkar found this threat amusing. Consequences from you? Small creature, you have no idea what real power looks like. We will see you on Zarian 7 in 6 hours. The communication ended and the bridge fell silent. Everyone knew they were facing their first real test as representatives of humanity. The aliens clearly thought humans were weak and primitive. They had no respect for human life or human rights. Dr. Park began preparing for the meeting while Colonel Hayes selected a security team to accompany her. Jake felt a growing worry in his stomach. These Zephyrians were not the peaceful, wise aliens that many humans had hoped to find among the stars. They were conquerors who saw humans as nothing more than potential slaves. As the Liberty prepared to travel to the neutral moon, Jake made a decision that would echo through history. He sent a quantum message back to Earth, informing them of the situation and requesting backup. Something told him that this first contact would not end with peaceful negotiations. The age of human space exploration was about to become something much more dangerous. The galaxy was about to learn what humans were truly capable of when their people were threatened. The neutral moon of Zarian 7 was a cold, gray rock floating in space between two gas giant planets. It had no atmosphere and no life, which made it perfect for meetings between different alien species. Dr. Lisa Park stood in the airlock of the shuttle, checking her environmental suit one last time. The gravity on the moon was light, and the meeting would take place in a small dome structure that had been built specifically for diplomatic encounters. Colonel Ben Hayes and 4 Marines accompanied Lisa to the surface. The Marines carried standard weapons, but everyone knew that if the Zephyrians wanted to cause trouble, the small human team would be badly outnumbered. The Zephyrian ships in orbit around the moon were massive war vessels, while the humans had only brought a small diplomatic shuttle. Lisa felt nervous but excited as they walked across the moon's surface toward the meeting dome. This was the moment she had trained for her entire life. She was about to become the first human to engage in formal diplomacy with an alien species. The dome ahead of them was made of a strange, transparent material that seemed to shimmer in the light from the nearby star. Inside the dome, the Zephyrians were already waiting. War Commander Thexkar stood at the center of the room, and he was even more intimidating in person than he had appeared on the video screen. His armor-like skin was covered with scars that told stories of many battles. 6 other Zephyrian warriors stood behind him, each one carrying weapons that looked far more advanced than anything humans had developed. The dome had been fitted with an atmosphere that both species could breathe, and translation devices allowed them to understand each other clearly. Lisa walked forward with confidence, even though she felt small compared to the towering aliens. Commander Thexkar, she said formally, I am Dr. Lisa Park, representing the people of Earth. I hope we can reach an understanding between our species. Thexkar looked down at her with what seemed like boredom. Dr. Park, you humans are even smaller than I expected. Tell me, how many worlds does your species control? Lisa stood straight and proud. Earth is our homeworld, and we have colonies on a few planets and moons in our solar system. We are just beginning to explore beyond our own system. The Zephyrian warriors behind Thexkar made sounds that might have been laughter. Their commander shook his massive head. One world. You control only one world, and you think you can negotiate with the Zephyrian Empire? We control over 300 star systems. Our military has conquered every species we have encountered. Colonel Hayes stepped forward slightly, ready to protect Lisa if necessary. The Marines stayed alert, watching every movement the Zephyrians made. Lisa could feel the tension in the room, but she kept her voice calm and diplomatic. Commander, the size of our territory does not determine our worth as a species. Humans have much to offer in terms of science, culture, and technology. We believe that different species can work together for mutual benefit. Thexkar walked closer to Lisa, his heavy footsteps echoing in the dome. Science? Technology? Your ship is centuries behind our worst vessels. Your weapons are primitive. Your people are physically weak. What could you possibly offer that would interest the mighty Zephyrian Empire? Lisa had prepared for this question. She pulled out a small device from her equipment pack. This is a quantum communication array. It allows instant communication across any distance in the galaxy. Our scientists developed this technology recently. The war commander looked at the device with mild interest. Instant communication? That could have military applications. Perhaps your species has some small value after all. Lisa felt a moment of hope. Maybe she could convince them that humans were worth treating as equals. We have many technologies that could benefit both our species. We also have art, music, literature, and philosophical traditions that could enrich galactic civilization. Thexkar made a dismissive gesture with one of his massive hands. Art, music, philosophy? These are the concerns of weak species who have nothing better to do. The galaxy belongs to the strong, Dr. Park. The Zephyrian Empire has grown powerful by taking what we need and destroying what opposes us. Lisa felt her heart sink, but she tried one more approach. Commander, surely there is room in the galaxy for different types of strength. Humans may not be physical warriors like your people, but we excel at solving problems, working together, and finding creative solutions to challenges. The Zephyrian leader seemed to consider this for a moment. Then he smiled, showing his sharp teeth. You speak of working together. Very well. The Zephyrian Empire has a proposal for humanity. Lisa felt hopeful again. We are willing to listen to any reasonable proposal. Thexkar's smile grew wider and more threatening. Your species will become slaves of the Zephyrian Empire. You will work in our mines and factories. Your scientists will develop technology for our military. Your people will serve us faithfully, and in return, we will allow your species to continue existing. The Marines tensed, and Colonel Hayes moved closer to Lisa. She felt anger rising in her chest, but she forced herself to stay diplomatic. That is not a proposal we can accept, Commander. Humans are a free people. We will not become slaves to anyone. Thexkar's expression grew dark. You misunderstand the situation, Dr. Park. This was not a negotiation. This was me informing you of what will happen. The only question is whether your people will submit voluntarily, or whether we will have to break your spirit first. Lisa stood as tall as she could, and looked directly into the alien commander's yellow eyes. Humans will never submit to slavery. We would rather die free than live as slaves. The war commander laughed, but this time it sounded cruel and cold. Die free? That can be arranged as well. But first let me show you the fate of species that defy the Zephyrian Empire. Thexkar made a gesture to his warriors, and suddenly the dome was filled with weapon fire. The Marines immediately moved to protect Lisa and Ben, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Laser blasts filled the air, and the smell of burning electronics filled Lisa's nose. Colonel Hayes shouted orders to his men while returning fire with his own weapon. Protect Dr. Park. Get her to the shuttle. Lisa found herself being pushed toward the dome's exit by one of the Marines. She could see the young soldier, Corporal Danny Ross, trying to cover their retreat. But the Zephyrian weapons were too powerful. Danny fell to the ground, and Lisa could see he was badly hurt. She broke away from the Marine who was trying to protect her and ran back toward Danny. As she knelt beside the wounded soldier, laser fire erupted around her. She felt a burning pain in her chest and realized she had been shot. Colonel Hayes reached her just as she fell. She could see the worry and anger in his eyes as he tried to help her. The pain was getting worse, and she could feel her strength leaving her. Ben, she whispered, tell Captain Morrison. Tell him that these aliens only understand strength. They have no respect for peace or diplomacy. They only respect power. Ben held her hand tightly. Lisa, stay with me. We're going to get you back to the ship. But Lisa could feel her life slipping away. The Zephyrian weapons had done too much damage. She used her last bit of strength to activate the quantum communicator she still carried. The device would transmit everything that had happened directly to the Liberty. Tell Earth, she said quietly. Tell them that the galaxy is not a safe place. Tell them that humans will need to be strong if we want to survive out here. Dr. Lisa Park died on the cold floor of the diplomatic dome, far from Earth and the stars she had loved to study. Colonel Hayes and the surviving Marines fought their way back to the shuttle, carrying Danny Ross with them. As they escaped from the moon, they could hear Thexkar's voice coming through their communication system. This is what happens to species that refuse the generosity of the Zephyrian Empire, the war commander announced. Your friend died because of your arrogance. Return to your ship and prepare to surrender or we will destroy you all. The shuttle raced back toward the Liberty, carrying news that would change everything. Captain Jake Morrison was about to learn that his science officer and friend was dead, killed while trying to establish peaceful contact with an alien species. The galaxy had just taught humanity a lesson about the nature of power, but the Zephyrians had also just made a terrible mistake. They had awakened something in humanity that they did not understand. The galaxy was about to learn that when humans were pushed too far, they did not simply surrender. They fought back with everything they had. Captain Jake Morrison stood frozen on the bridge of the Liberty as he watched the transmission from Dr. Lisa Park's quantum communicator. The device had recorded everything that happened in the diplomatic dome on Zerion 7. Jake watched his friend and colleague die while trying to make peace with the Zephyrians. The alien warriors had shot her down without mercy, treating her life as if it meant nothing. The bridge crew was silent as the recording ended. Everyone had watched Lisa die, and everyone understood what it meant. The Zephyrians saw humans as insects to be stepped on or slaves to be used. There would be no peaceful coexistence with this alien empire. Colonel Ben Hayes and the surviving Marines had made it back to the Liberty, but Corporal Danny Ross was badly injured and fighting for his life in the medical bay. The young soldier had taken multiple laser blasts while trying to protect the diplomatic team. Dr. Kevin Miller, the ship's chief medical officer, was doing everything he could to save Danny's life. Jake felt anger building inside him like a fire that could not be put out. Lisa had been more than just his science officer. She had been his friend for over 10 years. They had worked together, studied together, and shared the dream of exploring the galaxy. Now she was dead because she had believed that intelligent beings could talk to each other and find peaceful solutions. Lieutenant Amy Stone approached the captain carefully. She could see the rage in his eyes and knew that whatever happened next would change everything. "Captain," she said quietly, "the Zephyrian commander is demanding our surrender. He says we have 1 hour to make our decision." Jake looked at the communication panel where Thexkar's threatening message was still displayed. The alien commander had made his position clear. Humans could either become slaves or be destroyed. There was no third option in the Zephyrian way of thinking. "Send a message to Thexkar," Jake said in a voice that was cold as space itself. "Tell him that the UES Liberty does not surrender to murderers." Amy hesitated for a moment. "Sir, they have 3 warships to our 1. Their weapons are more advanced than ours. If we fight them here, we might not survive." Jake turned to look at his communication officer. "Amy, Dr. Park died believing that we could reason with these aliens. She died trying to find a peaceful solution, but they killed her like she was nothing. If we surrender now, her death means nothing. If we run away, her death means nothing." The captain walked to the center of the bridge and activated the ship-wide communication system. His voice would now reach every person on the Liberty. "This is Captain Morrison speaking to all crew members. 30 minutes ago, Dr. Lisa Park was murdered by the Zephyrian Empire while attempting peaceful negotiations. They have demanded our surrender and threatened to destroy us if we refuse." He paused for a moment, letting the weight of his words sink in. "The Zephyrians see us as weak because we tried to talk instead of fight. They think humans are cowards who will give up when threatened. They are about to learn how wrong they are." Throughout the ship, crew members stopped what they were doing and listened to their captain's words. In the engineering section, Chief Engineer Susan Miller felt her hands clench into fists. In the security department, Marine Captain Elena Rodriguez began checking weapon systems. Everyone understood that they were about to fight their first battle in space against an alien enemy. "We are going to send a message to the Zephyrian Empire," Jake continued. "We are going to show them that humans do not surrender to bullies. We are going to make them pay for killing Dr. Park, and we are going to make sure they never underestimate humanity again." The crew began preparing for battle with deadly efficiency. The Liberty was primarily an exploration ship, but it had been equipped with military-grade weapons and defenses. Earth's leaders had known that space might be a dangerous place, and they had made sure the first human starship could defend itself. Chief Engineer Miller rerouted power from the science laboratories to the weapon systems. The Liberty's main guns were particle beam cannons that could punch through most known materials. The ship also carried missiles with nuclear warheads and defensive laser arrays. Marine Captain Rodriguez deployed her soldiers throughout the ship to repel any boarding attempts. The Marines were trained for zero-gravity combat and equipped with the latest personal weapons and armor. Each Marine knew that they might be the last line of defense between the Zephyrians and the ship's crew. Jake received reports from every department as the Liberty prepared for combat. The ship had been designed by humans who understood that the universe might not be friendly to newcomers. Every system had backup systems, and every weapon had been tested thoroughly before the mission began. As the 1-hour deadline approached, Jake made his decision. The Liberty would not run away and it would not surrender. Instead, it would fight with everything it had. Jake had sent a quantum message to Earth describing the situation, but help would not arrive for months. The Liberty was on its own. "Amy, open a channel to the Zephyrian flagship," Jake ordered. The main screen flickered, and once again the bridge crew found themselves looking at War Commander Thexkar. The alien warrior looked pleased with himself, probably expecting the humans to beg for mercy. "Captain Morrison," Thexkar said with satisfaction, "I trust you have considered our generous offer. Will you surrender your ship and your people to the Zephyrian Empire?" Jake stared directly into the alien commander's yellow eyes. "Commander Thexkar, I have a message for you and your empire. Dr. Lisa Park came to you in peace, offering friendship and cooperation. You murdered her in cold blood. That was your first mistake." Thexkar's expression changed slightly. He had expected fear from the human captain, not anger. "Your first mistake? And what was our second mistake, little human?" Jake's voice became as hard as steel. "Your second mistake was thinking that we would surrender after you killed one of our people. You wanted to see human strength, Commander. You're about to get your wish." The communication ended and Jake turned to his crew. "All hands battle stations. Prepare to engage the enemy." Alarms sounded throughout the Liberty as the crew took their positions. In the Weapon Control Center, Lieutenant Commander Rachel Brooks began targeting the Zephyrian ships. Her systems showed that the alien vessels were indeed larger and more heavily armed than the Liberty, but they were also slower and less maneuverable. The Zephyrians had built their ships for intimidation and overwhelming firepower. The Liberty had been built by humans who understood that in a real fight, speed and intelligence often beat pure strength. The human ship was smaller and lighter, but it could move and turn much faster than the alien vessels. As the two fleets moved into combat positions, Jake realized that this battle would determine the future relationship between humans and aliens. If the Liberty won, it would prove that humans could defend themselves. If it lost, humanity might become slaves or be wiped out entirely. The Zephyrians fired first, sending massive energy beams toward the Liberty. But the human ship was already moving, using its superior speed to avoid the worst of the enemy fire. Captain Morrison had studied every piece of information about Zephyrian tactics, and he knew they preferred direct, overwhelming attacks. Humans, however, had learned different lessons from their history of warfare. They had learned to be clever, to use misdirection, and to strike at enemy weaknesses rather than trying to match enemy strengths. The Liberty began to fight like no ship the Zephyrians had ever encountered before. The battle for humanity's future had begun, and the galaxy was about to learn that humans were far more dangerous than they appeared. The battle began with the Zephyrian ships firing their massive main guns at the Liberty. Bright beams of energy cut through space where the human ship had been just seconds before. Captain Jake Morrison had ordered evasive maneuvers, and the Liberty danced between the enemy fire like a small bird avoiding the claws of 3 large cats. Lieutenant Commander Rachel Brooks was at the weapons control station, her fingers moving quickly across the targeting systems. She had studied the Zephyrian ships during the diplomatic mission and noticed something important. The alien vessels were powerful, but they were designed for fighting enemies who stood still and traded shots. "Captain," Rachel called out, "their weapons are slow to retarget. They expect enemies to fight them directly. If we keep moving, they can't track us effectively." Jake nodded and spoke to the helmsman. "Lieutenant Parker, keep us moving. Use our speed advantage. Don't let them get a clear shot." The Liberty spun and dove through space in patterns that confused the Zephyrian gunners. Human ships were built differently than alien vessels. Where the Zephyrians used brute force and heavy armor, humans used speed, maneuverability, and precise targeting systems. Chief Engineer Susan Miller watched her power distribution systems carefully. She had rerouted energy from non-essential systems to the engines and weapons. The Liberty was running at maximum efficiency, every component working together to keep the ship alive and fighting. The first human attack came as a surprise to the Zephyrians. Instead of trying to match their heavy weapons, Rachel targeted the alien ship's communication arrays and sensor equipment. The Liberty's particle beams struck with surgical precision, cutting through the enemy vessel's ability to coordinate their attacks. War Commander Thexkar found himself suddenly unable to communicate with his other ships. His sensors were showing false readings, and his weapons officers were having trouble targeting the fast-moving human vessel. This was not how space battles were supposed to work. "What are they doing?" Thexkar roared at his officers. "Why are they not standing and fighting like warriors?" His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Vextar, looked confused and frustrated. "Sir, they are attacking our systems instead of our weapons. This is not honorable combat. This is trickery." The Liberty continued its deadly dance around the larger Zephyrian ships. Captain Morrison had realized that trying to destroy the alien vessels directly would take too long and use too much ammunition. Instead, he was fighting the way humans had always fought when outnumbered, by using their brains instead of their muscles. Marine Captain Elena Rodriguez coordinated the ship's defensive systems from the security center. The Liberty's point defense lasers shot down incoming missiles, while electromagnetic pulse weapons disrupted Zephyrian targeting computers. Every human system worked together as part of a larger strategy. The second phase of the battle began when the Liberty launched its nuclear missiles. But these were not aimed at the Zephyrian ships themselves. Instead, they were programmed to detonate in space around the enemy vessels, creating electromagnetic fields that interfered with alien systems. Thexkar watched in growing frustration as his ships became less and less effective. The humans were not fighting like any enemy he had ever encountered. They struck at weak points, used the environment as a weapon, and seemed to anticipate every Zephyrian move. "Sir," his weapons officer reported, "we have lost contact with the destroyer Vexhul. The human ship's attacks have damaged their life support systems. They are requesting permission to withdraw." Thexkar could not believe what he was hearing. A single human ship was defeating 3 Zephyrian warships through tactics that the alien commander did not understand. The humans were not trying to prove their strength through direct combat. They were simply trying to win. Captain Morrison saw his opportunity when the Zephyrian formation began to break apart. The alien ships had been designed to fight as individual units, each one powerful enough to destroy most enemies on its own. But the Liberty's attacks had forced them to spread out, making them vulnerable to coordinated strikes. "Rachel, target the lead ship's main reactor," Jake ordered. "Full power to the particle beams." The Liberty's weapons struck the Zephyrian flagship with concentrated fire. The alien ship's shields held for a few seconds, but human targeting systems had identified the exact frequency needed to disrupt the shield generators. The beams punched through the failing shields and struck the ship's power core. Thexkar felt his ship shake as the reactor took damage. Emergency lights flashed on the bridge and several control panels exploded in showers of sparks. For the first time in his military career, the war commander found himself losing a battle. The third Zephyrian ship, the cruiser Nexaval, attempted to ram the Liberty in a desperate attack. But Lieutenant Parker saw the move coming and used the human ship's superior maneuverability to avoid the collision. As the alien ship passed by, the Liberty's weapons raked its hull with devastating fire. Chief Engineer Miller reported to the bridge that all human systems were still functioning normally. The Liberty had taken some damage from enemy fire, but nothing critical had been hit. The crew had worked together perfectly, each person doing their job as part of the larger battle plan. The tide of battle turned completely when Corporal Danny Ross, still recovering from his injuries, managed to hack into the Zephyrian communication system from the medical bay. The young Marine had been working with the ship's computer specialists to break the alien encryption codes. "Captain," Danny called from the medical bay, "I'm into their system. I can see their tactical data and fleet positions. They have reinforcements coming, but they won't arrive for several hours." This information gave Jake exactly what he needed to end the battle quickly. The Liberty could defeat these 3 ships, but it could not fight an entire Zephyrian fleet. The time had come to send a message that would be remembered throughout the galaxy. Jake opened a communication channel to all 3 Zephyrian ships. His face appeared on their screens, and this time it was the alien commanders who looked afraid. Thexkar's flagship was badly damaged. One of his escorts was drifting powerless through space, and the 3rd ship was leaking atmosphere from multiple hull breaches. "War Commander Thexkar," Jake said in a calm, cold voice, "you wanted to see human strength. You murdered Dr. Park because you thought we were weak. You demanded our surrender because you thought we were cowards." Thexkar tried to respond, but Jake continued speaking. "Your ships are defeated. Your fleet is broken. Your warriors have been outfought by a single human vessel. But I'm going to let you live, Commander." The alien leader looked confused. In Zephyrian culture, defeated enemies were either enslaved or destroyed. The concept of mercy was foreign to their way of thinking. Jake's expression grew harder. "I'm letting you live so you can return to your empire and tell them what happened here. Tell them that Dr. Lisa Park died trying to make peace. Tell them that humans offered friendship and cooperation. And tell them that when you refused our offer and murdered our people, we destroyed your fleet." The communication ended, and Jake turned to his crew. The Liberty had won its first battle against an alien enemy, but this was only the beginning. News of the human victory would spread throughout the galaxy, and other species would want to test humanity's strength. As the damaged Zephyrian ships limped away from the battle, Jake made a decision that would change galactic history. He sent another quantum message to Earth, requesting immediate military support. The galaxy had proven to be a dangerous place, and humanity would need to be prepared for whatever came next. The age of human exploration had ended. The age of human military expansion was about to begin. News of the battle near Zerion 7 reached Earth through quantum communication within hours. President Maria Santos stood in the Emergency Command Center, deep beneath the Global Defense Council headquarters, surrounded by military leaders, scientists, and diplomats. The message from Captain Morrison was clear. Humanity had won its first space battle, but the war was just beginning. General Patricia Webb, the highest-ranking military officer on Earth, studied the tactical reports from the Liberty. She was a stern woman with gray hair and sharp eyes who had spent her career preparing for exactly this type of situation. For decades, human military planners had wondered what would happen when Earth encountered hostile alien life. "The Zephyrians underestimated us," General Webb told the assembled leaders. "They thought our single ship would be easy prey. Captain Morrison's victory bought us time, but they'll be back with a larger fleet." President Santos nodded grimly. She had hoped that first contact with aliens would lead to peaceful relationships and expanded trade. Instead, humanity was facing its first interstellar war. "General, what are our options?" Admiral Steve Carter, commander of Earth's space fleet, activated a holographic display showing human military assets. "We have been building warships for the past 50 years just in case we needed them. We currently have 200 vessels that could be ready for deep space operations within 6 months." The president looked at the numbers with concern. 200 ships against an empire that controls 300 star systems. Those don't seem like good odds. Dr. Frank Hayes, the president's science advisor and brother to Colonel Ben Hayes, stepped forward. He had been studying the technical data transmitted by the Liberty. "Madam President, the numbers might not tell the whole story. Our ships are smaller than theirs, but they appear to be much more advanced in terms of speed, maneuverability, and targeting systems." General Webb agreed with the scientist's assessment. "The Zephyrians have been the dominant power in their region for 1,000 years. That kind of dominance can make a military force overconfident and slow to adapt. They're used to winning through brute force rather than tactical superiority." President Santos made the decision that would determine humanity's future among the stars. "General Webb, you have authorization to mobilize the entire space fleet." "Admiral Carter, I want every available ship prepared for combat operations. Dr. Hayes, coordinate with our weapons research facilities to give our fleet every possible advantage. Within days, Earth's orbital shipyards were working around the clock to prepare the human fleet for war. The UES Vengeance, Admiral Carter's flagship, was the largest and most powerful ship humanity had ever built. It carried enough firepower to destroy most space stations, but its real strength lay in its advanced computer systems and electronic warfare capabilities. Captain Amy Stone, promoted from her position on the Liberty, now commanded the destroyer UES Storm. Her ship was typical of human naval design, fast, heavily armed for its size, and equipped with the most advanced sensors and communication systems available. The Storm could outrun most alien vessels and strike with devastating precision. The human fleet doctrine was based on lessons learned from centuries of warfare on Earth. Human military leaders understood that victory usually went to the side that could move faster, communicate better, and adapt more quickly to changing circumstances. Raw firepower was important, but tactics and coordination were more important. Lieutenant Commander Rachel Brooks had been transferred to Admiral Carter's staff as Chief Tactical Officer for the entire fleet. She worked with teams of analysts to study every piece of information about Zephyrian military capabilities. Her job was to find weaknesses that human forces could exploit. Admiral, Rachel reported during a strategy meeting, the Zephyrians fight like individual warriors rather than as a coordinated force. Their ships are powerful, but they don't seem to use combined tactics or support each other effectively. Admiral Carter found this information very interesting. Human naval doctrine emphasized mutual support, coordinated attacks, and flexible formations. If the aliens were used to single combat, they would be vulnerable to the kind of pack tactics that humans had perfected. The human fleet departed Earth orbit 6 months after Dr. Park's death. 500 ships of various sizes and capabilities moved toward Zephyrian space with a single mission to demonstrate that humanity would not be intimidated or enslaved by any alien empire. Captain Jake Morrison and the Liberty joined the fleet as scouts and intelligence gatherers. The exploration ship had been refitted with additional weapons and better shields, but its primary value was the experience its crew had gained fighting the Zephyrians. Every human ship captain studied the Liberty's battle recordings to learn how to fight alien enemies effectively. The fleet's first target was a Zephyrian border system called Kethvar, which contained 3 planets and a major military base. Intelligence reports suggested that the system was defended by approximately 50 Zephyrian warships, a significant force, but not large enough to stop the human fleet if it attacked with proper coordination. Admiral Carter divided his fleet into multiple attack groups, each one designed to hit different targets simultaneously. The Zephyrians expected their enemies to attack in a single large formation, making it easy to concentrate defensive fire. Instead, they would face attacks from a dozen different directions at once. Captain Elena Rodriguez, now commanding the cruiser UES Guardian, led one of the attack groups. Her ships were equipped with long-range missiles that could strike targets from outside the range of most alien weapons. The plan was to overwhelm the Zephyrian defenses before they could organize an effective response. Major Kyle Davis commanded the fleet's marine forces, which would be responsible for capturing key installations on the planet's surface. Human ground forces had trained extensively for combat in alien environments, and they carried weapons specifically designed to be effective against Zephyrian armor. As the human fleet approached Kethvar, Admiral Carter opened a communication channel to the Zephyrian base commander. The alien officer who appeared on screen was similar to War Commander Thexkar, but his armor was different colors, suggesting a different rank or unit. "I am Base Commander Kextar of the Zephyrian Empire," the alien announced. "You have entered our territory with a war fleet. Surrender immediately or face destruction." Admiral Carter's response was calm but firm. "Commander, I am Admiral Steve Carter of the Earth Defense Fleet. 6 months ago, your forces murdered a human diplomat during peace negotiations. We are here to ensure that such actions have consequences." Kextar seemed surprised by the human response. "You dare to threaten the Zephyrian Empire over the death of one insignificant creature? We have destroyed entire species for lesser offenses." The Admiral's expression grew cold. "Commander, you're about to learn that humans are not like the other species you've conquered. We don't surrender when threatened, and we don't forget when our people are murdered. The communication ended, and Admiral Carter gave the order that would begin humanity's first offensive military action in space. All ships commence attack. Show them what human warfare looks like. The Battle of Kethvar began with coordinated missile strikes from 12 different directions. Human ships had approached the system using advanced stealth technology, getting much closer to their targets than the Zephyrians thought possible. The alien defenders found themselves under attack. Before they could properly organize their defenses, Captain Stone's destroyer group struck the orbital defense platforms while Captain Rodriguez's cruisers targeted the main military base. Other human ships attacked supply depots, communication centers, and the Zephyrian fleet itself. Every attack was precisely timed and coordinated through quantum communication systems. The Zephyrians had never faced an enemy that could coordinate such complex operations. Their own military doctrine was based on the idea that individual ships and commanders would fight independently, relying on superior firepower to overwhelm their enemies. Against the organized human fleet, this approach proved to be completely inadequate. Within 6 hours, the Zephyrian defenses at Kethvar had collapsed. The human fleet had destroyed or captured every alien military asset in the system, while taking minimal casualties themselves. Base Commander Kexter found himself a prisoner aboard Admiral Carter's flagship, facing an uncertain future as humanity's first alien captive. The news of humanity's victory at Kethvar spread through the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Within days, alien species that had never heard of Earth were talking about the humans who had defeated a Zephyrian fleet, with tactics that no one understood. Trade routes buzzed with rumors about these strange new beings who fought like no other species in known space. On the bridge of the UES Vengeance, Admiral Steve Carter studied reports from intelligence officers throughout the region. Captain John Parker, now serving as the fleet's intelligence coordinator, had intercepted communications from dozens of different alien species. The reactions varied, but they all shared one common element: surprise. "Admiral," Captain Parker reported, "the Crystalline Collective has been observing our operations. They're ancient beings who have watched galactic politics for thousands of years. Their preliminary assessment is that human tactical doctrine represents something entirely new in galactic warfare." Admiral Carter found this information fascinating. The Crystalline Collective was known throughout the galaxy as neutral observers, who studied other species but rarely interfered in their conflicts. If they were paying attention to human military operations, it meant that humanity had done something truly unusual. Lieutenant Commander Rachel Brooks had been analyzing the tactical data from the Battle of Kethvar. Her computers had recorded every aspect of the engagement, and the results confirmed what human military leaders had hoped. Coordination and speed could overcome superior individual firepower. "Sir," Rachel told the Admiral, "the Zephyrians lost because they couldn't adapt to our tactics. They kept trying to fight us ship to ship, but we never gave them the chance. By the time they understood what we were doing, the battle was already over." The human fleet had captured significant intelligence during the battle. Base Commander Kextar had eventually agreed to cooperate with his human captors, providing detailed information about Zephyrian military capabilities and strategic thinking. What he revealed was both encouraging and troubling. Dr. Susan Miller, now serving as the fleet's chief technical officer, had studied the captured Zephyrian technology. "Admiral, their individual ships are indeed more powerful than ours. Their weapons hit harder, their shields are stronger, and their armor is thicker. But their computer systems are primitive compared to ours." This discovery explained much about Zephyrian tactical doctrine. Their species had developed powerful weapons and strong defenses, but they had never needed to develop sophisticated coordination systems. For 1,000 years, they had won battles through individual superiority, rather than teamwork. Captain Jake Morrison and the Liberty had been assigned to patrol the border between human and Zephyrian space. His ship's sensors detected unusual activity in several nearby systems, large fleets of alien vessels moving toward human territory. The Zephyrian Empire was finally responding to humanity's attack with serious force. "Admiral," Jake reported through quantum communication, "I'm detecting at least 200 Zephyrian ships moving toward our position. They appear to be massing for a major counterattack." Admiral Carter was not surprised by this development. The human attack on Kethvar had been designed to provoke exactly this kind of response. By forcing the Zephyrians to mass their forces for a major battle, humanity could face them under conditions that favored human tactical advantages. The Admiral called a meeting of all his ship commanders using holographic communication systems. Captains from throughout the human fleet appeared on the Vengeance's bridge as three-dimensional images, creating a virtual command conference that would have been impossible for most alien species to organize. The Zephyrians are coming with everything they have, Admiral Carter told his commanders. Intelligence estimates suggest they're bringing at least 4 times as many ships as we have. But remember, they've never faced coordinated human tactics on this scale. Captain Elena Rodriguez, commanding the UES Guardian, asked the question that was on everyone's mind. Admiral, what's our battle plan? We can't use the same tactics that worked at Kethvar. They'll be expecting our coordination advantages now. Admiral Carter smiled. This was exactly the kind of thinking that made human commanders so effective. They were always looking ahead, always adapting to new circumstances. Captain Rodriguez, you're absolutely right, which is why we're going to do something they'll never expect. The Admiral activated a tactical display showing the approaching Zephyrian fleet and the positions of human ships. We're going to split our forces and attack from completely different directions. Half our fleet will engage them directly, using conventional tactics they'll understand. The other half will circle around and hit their supply lines and command ships. Lieutenant Commander Brooks worked out the details of this plan with her tactical team. The key was timing. Both human forces would need to strike simultaneously to prevent the Zephyrians from adapting their response. This required communication and coordination capabilities that only humans possessed. Major Kyle Davis and his Marines prepared for the possibility of boarding actions against Zephyrian ships. Human intelligence had learned that alien vessels were designed with large open spaces that made them vulnerable to small unit tactics. Marines trained in zero-gravity combat could move through alien ships in ways that their crews couldn't anticipate. As the Zephyrian fleet approached, Admiral Carter received an unexpected communication from an unknown alien source. The transmission came from a species called the Stellar Nomads, who were known for staying neutral in galactic conflicts. Admiral Carter, the alien messenger, said, "I am Speaker Velhan of the Stellar Nomads. We have observed your recent military operations with great interest. We wish to offer our services as mediators in this conflict." Admiral Carter was curious about this offer. "Speaker Velhan, we appreciate your concern, but the Zephyrians murdered our diplomat during peace negotiations. This is not a conflict that can be resolved through mediation." The Nomad representative seemed to understand the human position. "Admiral, we do not seek to interfere in your just response to Zephyrian aggression. However, we believe you should know that other species are watching this conflict very carefully. Your victory at Kethvar has raised questions about the balance of power in this region of the galaxy." This information confirmed what Admiral Carter had suspected. The Battle of Kethvar had been more than just a military victory. It had been a demonstration that humanity could compete with established galactic powers. Other alien species were now trying to determine what human success meant for their own interests. The final approach of the Zephyrian fleet was detected by human long-range sensors. War Commander Thexkar himself was leading the alien force, seeking revenge for his earlier defeat at the hands of the Liberty. The fleet he commanded was the largest military force the Zephyrian Empire had assembled in decades. Admiral Carter opened a communication channel to the entire human fleet. His voice would reach every ship and every crew member in the task force. "All hands, this is Admiral Carter. In a few hours, we will face the largest alien fleet in recorded history. They outnumber us 4-1, and their individual ships are more powerful than ours." He paused for a moment, letting his words sink in. "But we have advantages they cannot match. We fight as one coordinated force. We adapt to changing circumstances. We protect each other and work together toward common goals. Today, we will show the galaxy what human determination looks like." Throughout the fleet, crew members prepared for battle with calm efficiency. Engineers checked weapon systems and shields. Gunners loaded ammunition and calibrated targeting computers. Marines secured their equipment and reviewed boarding procedures. Everyone understood that this battle would determine humanity's place in galactic civilization. The second battle of human space was about to begin, and the outcome would be remembered for centuries. Either humanity would prove that it belonged among the great powers of the galaxy, or the Zephyrian Empire would crush the upstart species before it could become a real threat. Admiral Carter looked at the tactical display showing both fleets approaching each other and made his final preparations. The fate of humanity would be decided in the next few hours. The second battle of human space began at exactly 1430 Standard Time, when the massive Zephyrian fleet entered the outer boundaries of the Kethavar system. War Commander Thexkar stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the massive dreadnought Zexkalar, watching as his sensors detected the human fleet waiting for them. Thexkar had learned from his previous encounter with human tactics. This time he commanded over 800 Zephyrian warships, including some of the most powerful vessels in the Empire's fleet. He was confident that sheer numbers and firepower would overcome whatever tricks the humans might try to use. Sub-Commander Nexaval, Thexkar ordered, deploy the fleet in standard battle formation. We will advance together and crush these humans with overwhelming force. No more clever tactics. No more running and hiding. Today we fight like true warriors. Admiral Steve Carter watched the Zephyrian deployment from the bridge of the UES Vengeance. His tactical officers had predicted exactly this response. The aliens would try to use brute force to overcome human coordination advantages. It was exactly what the Admiral had hoped for. All ships implement Battle Plan Omega, Admiral Carter commanded. Captain Rodriguez, take your task force and begin the flanking maneuver. Captain Stone, prepare your destroyers for the breakthrough attack. The human fleet split into 3 groups with precise timing. The main battle group, commanded by Admiral Carter himself, moved to engage the Zephyrian fleet directly. Meanwhile, Captain Elena Rodriguez led 50 ships in a wide circle around the alien formation, moving to attack from behind. Captain Amy Stone's destroyer group prepared to punch through the alien lines at their weakest point. Lieutenant Commander Rachel Brooks coordinated the complex battle plan from her position on the Vengeance. Human ships moved with perfect synchronization, each captain knowing exactly when and where to be for maximum effectiveness. The Zephyrians had never faced anything like this level of coordination. The first exchange of fire began when the human main battle group came within range of the alien fleet. Massive energy beams crossed space as both sides engaged with their heaviest weapons. The Zephyrian ships had superior firepower, but the human vessels used their speed and maneuverability to avoid the worst of the enemy attack. Captain Jake Morrison and the Liberty served as a mobile command post, coordinating intelligence and communication between the different human task forces. His ship's advanced sensors tracked every alien vessel, providing real-time tactical data to the entire fleet. Admiral, Jake reported, the Zephyrian center is weakening. They're concentrating too much firepower on our main group and leaving their flanks exposed. Admiral Carter smiled. This was exactly what the battle plan had anticipated. Execute Phase 2. All task forces. Begin coordinated attack. Captain Rodriguez's flanking force struck the rear of the Zephyrian formation, just as Captain Stone's destroyers punched through their front lines. The aliens found themselves under attack from 3 directions simultaneously, with human ships moving too fast for their heavy weapons to track effectively. Major Kyle Davis and his Marines launched boarding actions against several Zephyrian command ships. The Marines used small, fast assault craft to reach the alien vessels, then fought their way through corridors and chambers designed for much larger beings. Their tactics confused the Zephyrian defenders, who were used to facing enemies similar to themselves. Dr. Susan Miller had equipped the human fleet with a secret weapon, computer viruses designed specifically to attack Zephyrian ship systems. As human forces closed with the enemy, these viruses were transmitted through communication channels and sensor contacts, gradually degrading alien coordination and targeting capabilities. War Commander Thexkar watched in growing alarm as his carefully organized fleet began to fall apart. Human ships seemed to be everywhere at once, striking at weak points and then disappearing before his forces could respond. His own ship was surrounded by smaller human vessels that darted in and out of his weapon range like angry insects. All ships, maintain formation, Thexkar commanded. Do not break ranks to pursue individual targets. But it was too late. The Zephyrian fleet had been trained for individual combat, and many ship commanders were already breaking formation to engage what they thought were easy targets. This played directly into human hands, as coordinated groups of human ships surrounded and destroyed isolated alien vessels. Captain Parker, now commanding the cruiser UES Liberty, named in honor of Jake Morrison's original ship, led a group of ships against the Zephyrian flagship itself. His force included some of the most experienced human ship commanders, all of whom had studied Zephyrian tactics extensively. The battle for the Zexcalar was fierce and desperate. Thexkar's flagship was the most powerful ship in the alien fleet, with weapons that could destroy human vessels with single shots. But the human ships attacked in coordinated waves, with some vessels drawing fire while others struck at vulnerable points. Lieutenant Sarah Kim, commanding the destroyer UES Thunder, made the decisive move when she managed to get close enough to the Zephyrian flagship to launch a full spread of nuclear missiles at point-blank range. The resulting explosions overwhelmed the alien ship's shields and caused massive damage to its main weapon systems. Throughout the battle, human casualties were surprisingly light. The fleet's medical officer, Dr. Kevin Ross, reported that most human ships had taken damage but few had been destroyed outright. This was in stark contrast to the Zephyrian losses, which were mounting rapidly as human tactics proved their effectiveness. The turning point came when Captain Rodriguez's flanking force reached the Zephyrian supply ships. These vessels carried ammunition, fuel, and spare parts for the alien fleet. By destroying them, the humans ensured that even surviving Zephyrian ships would be unable to continue fighting for very long. Admiral Carter opened a communication channel to War Commander Thexkar as the battle reached its conclusion. The Zephyrian flagship was badly damaged. Many of its escort ships had been destroyed, and the alien formation was in complete disarray. "Commander Thexkar," Admiral Carter said calmly, "your fleet is defeated. You have lost over half your ships and the remainder are cut off from supplies and reinforcements. I offer you the same choice you offered us. Surrender or be destroyed." Thexkar's image on the communication screen showed a being who had been broken by defeat. The proud warrior who had laughed at human weakness now faced the complete destruction of his fleet. His yellow eyes showed an emotion that humans had not seen from Zephyrians before: fear. "Admiral Carter," Thexkar said slowly, "you have proven that humans are not the weak creatures we believed you to be. But the Zephyrian Empire is vast. Even this defeat will not stop us from eventually conquering your species." Admiral Carter's expression grew cold. "Commander, you still don't understand what you're facing. This battle wasn't about conquest or territory. This was about justice for Dr. Lisa Park and every other being your empire has murdered in the name of superiority." The Admiral paused, letting his words sink in. "But you're right about one thing. This battle won't stop your empire from trying to destroy humanity, which is why we're not going to stop here." Captain Morrison, listening to the exchange from the Liberty, understood what Admiral Carter meant. The human fleet wasn't just defending Earth's interests. It was preparing to take the war directly to the Zephyrian Empire itself. "Commander," Admiral Carter continued, "when you return to your empire, tell them this. Humanity tried to make peace. Your people chose war instead. Now you will face the consequences of that choice. We are coming for your homeworld, and we will not stop until your empire learns to respect the rights of other species." The communication ended, and Admiral Carter turned to his staff officers. "Begin preparations for the next phase of operations. Send word to Earth that we need more ships and supplies. We're going to end this war by taking it directly to them." As the remnants of the Zephyrian fleet limped away from the battlefield, news of the human victory began to spread throughout the galaxy. Species that had feared Zephyrian power for centuries now watched in amazement. As a newcomer, civilization dismantled one of the galaxy's greatest military forces. The balance of power in known space was shifting, and humanity was emerging as a force that could no longer be ignored or dismissed. 5 years had passed since the great battle that shattered the Zephyrian fleet, and the galaxy had changed in ways that no one could have predicted. Captain Jake Morrison, now promoted to Admiral, stood on the observation deck of the massive space station New Geneva, watching human and alien ships moving peacefully through the busy traffic lanes. The station orbited the former Zephyrian colony world of Vexhara, which had become the center of a new galactic order. Where once Zephyrian warships had enforced the Empire's will through fear and violence, now human patrol ships maintained peace through demonstrated strength and fair enforcement of interspecies law. Dr. Kevin Ross, who had become humanity's first ambassador to the Galactic Council, approached Admiral Morrison with a smile on his face. The doctor had traded his medical uniform for diplomatic robes, but his dedication to helping others remained unchanged. "Jake," Dr. Ross said warmly, The morning briefing just finished. I thought you'd want to hear the latest reports from throughout the sector. Admiral Morrison nodded, still amazed by how much had changed since the Liberty's first encounter with the Zephyrians. Good news or bad news, Kevin? The ambassador's smile grew wider. Definitely good news. The Guarani Trade Federation has formally requested human protection for their merchant ships in the Outer Rim territories. The pirate raids in that region have dropped to almost zero since we established patrol routes there. This was exactly the kind of development that made Jake proud of what humanity had accomplished. After the defeat of the Zephyrian fleet, human forces had moved quickly to fill the power vacuum left by the collapsing empire. But instead of becoming conquerors themselves, humans had become protectors. Captain Elena Rodriguez, now commanding the battlecruiser UES Defender, had spent the last 3 years establishing security zones throughout the former Zephyrian territory. Her ships didn't occupy alien worlds or demand tribute from conquered peoples. Instead, they offered protection to any species willing to accept human mediation of disputes. The result had been remarkable. Trade routes that had been dangerous for centuries were now safe for merchant ships. Planetary conflicts that had raged for decades were resolved through human diplomatic intervention. Species that had lived in fear of Zephyrian raids could now focus on rebuilding their civilizations. Lieutenant Commander Rachel Brooks, promoted to captain and now serving as Jake's chief of staff, brought him the daily intelligence summary. Admiral, we've received an interesting communication from the Crystalline Collective. They want to meet with you personally. Jake found this request intriguing. The Crystalline Collective was one of the oldest species in the galaxy, and they rarely involved themselves directly in the affairs of younger races. Their interest in humanity suggested that the humans had done something truly significant. The meeting took place in the station's diplomatic wing, in a specially designed chamber that could accommodate the unique needs of crystalline life forms. The collective's representative was a being of living crystal that stood nearly 10 feet tall, its faceted surface reflecting light in beautiful patterns. Admiral Morrison, the crystalline being said in a voice like wind chimes, I am Sage Crystaller of the Collective. We have observed your species with great interest since your first appearance in galactic affairs. Jake bowed respectfully to the ancient being. Sage Crystaller, humanity is honored by your attention. How may we serve the Collective? The crystalline entity seemed to smile, though it was hard to tell with a being made of living mineral. Admiral, in our 10,000 years of observation, we have seen many species rise to galactic prominence. Most follow predictable patterns. They conquer, they dominate. They eventually fall to younger, stronger civilizations. The sage moved closer to Jake, its crystal form chiming softly with each step. But humans have done something unprecedented. You defeated the Zephyrian Empire, but instead of replacing their tyranny with your own, you have created something new. You have shown that strength can be used to protect rather than oppress. Jake felt a deep sense of pride in what his species had accomplished. Sage, we learned early that the galaxy can be a dangerous place, but we also learned that we're stronger when we work together with others rather than trying to dominate them. The crystalline representative seemed pleased by this response. This is why the Collective wishes to formally recognize humanity as a major galactic power. We are prepared to share certain technologies with your species, technologies that we have never offered to any other race. This offer was beyond anything Jake had expected. The Crystalline Collective possessed knowledge and technology that were thousands of years ahead of most galactic civilizations. Their recognition would cement humanity's position as a leader among the stars. Meanwhile, on the planet's surface, former war commander Thex Carr was addressing a gathering of young Zephyrian warriors. The once proud military leader had become something that his people had never seen before, a teacher of peace. Young warriors, Thex Carr said to his audience, I have fought humans in battle twice, and I have learned something that our empire refused to understand. True strength does not come from the ability to defeat others. True strength comes from the wisdom to know when fighting is necessary and when it is not. The young Zephyrians listened intently to their former commander. Thex Carr had become a controversial figure among his people, but his words carried weight because of his military experience. He had faced human forces in combat and lived to tell about it. The humans could have destroyed our homeworld, Thex Carr continued. Their fleet was powerful enough to reduce Zephys Prime to ash. Instead, they offered us a choice. Learn to coexist peacefully or face the consequences of continued aggression. One of the young warriors raised his hand. Commander, did we lose because we were weak? Thexkar considered the question carefully. No, young one. We lost because we were inflexible. We had spent 1,000 years fighting enemies who were like us, proud, individualistic, dependent on personal strength. The humans fight differently. They fight as a unified force, each individual supporting the whole. Captain Amy Stone, now commanding the heavy cruiser UES Storm, was conducting a routine patrol near the border between human and unexplored space. Her sensors had detected unusual activity in a nearby system, signs of a distress signal from an unknown alien species. Captain, her communication officer reported, I'm picking up what sounds like a call for help. The language is unfamiliar, but the tone suggests they're in serious trouble. Amy made the decision that had become standard for human ships in such situations. Set course for the distress signal. Prepare medical and engineering teams for possible rescue operations. When the storm arrived at the source of the signal, they found something that was becoming increasingly common: a small alien ship under attack by pirates. The attackers were a mixed group of various species, probably outcasts from civilized worlds who had turned to raiding for survival. The pirates fled as soon as they detected the human warship's arrival. Word had spread throughout the galaxy that attacking ships under human protection was extremely dangerous. Even desperate criminals had learned to avoid confrontations with human forces. Captain Stone's crew rescued the alien survivors and provided medical treatment for their injuries. The grateful aliens were members of a species called the Villani, who were exploring space for the first time. They had not known that the galaxy contained both protectors and predators. Captain Stone, the Villani ship commander, said through translation devices, we had heard stories about the humans who protect other species. We thought they were legends. Now we see that the stories are true. Amy smiled at the alien commander. The galaxy can be a dangerous place for anyone traveling alone. But no one has to face those dangers by themselves. Humanity will always help those who need protection. This encounter was typical of hundreds of similar incidents throughout human-controlled space. The mere presence of human ships was enough to deter most criminals and aggressors, while human willingness to help strangers had earned the respect and gratitude of dozens of alien species. Back on New Geneva Station, Admiral Morrison received a communication that filled him with mixed emotions. Captain Jake Parker, now serving as Earth's military liaison to the Galactic Council, had sent news about the dedication of a memorial to Dr. Lisa Park. The memorial was located on Earth, in the same park where Lisa had often gone to look at the stars as a child. Her name was inscribed on a monument along with the words she had believed in most deeply. The universe is vast enough for all of us to find our place among the stars. Jake stood quietly in his quarters, looking at images of the memorial ceremony. President Santos had spoken about Lisa's sacrifice, and her parents had traveled from across Earth to attend the dedication. The woman who had died trying to make peace with hostile aliens had become a symbol of humanity's best qualities. A soft chime indicated that someone was requesting entry to his quarters. Jake opened the door to find Ambassador Ross standing outside with a tablet in his hands. Jake, Kevin said softly, I thought you should see this before the formal announcement. The Galactic Council has just voted unanimously to establish the Lisa Park Accords for interspecies cooperation. Jake read the document with growing amazement. The Accords established formal protocols,